Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Metro's board activities of April 23rd, 2026. It is a big one. We've got some tripods in the room. Before we begin, I'm going to go ahead and actually turn it over to the GM to address yesterday's single tracking through the core, and then we'll hand it over to Jamie Johnson, our Chief Safety Officer, to provide this morning's safety contact. But first, we'll go to the GM.
Great, thank you, Board Member McAndrew. Just want to take a quick moment and address the incident we had at Metro Center yesterday. Couple highlights I wanted to just get on the record here. First, want to just reiterate that NTSB is involved in this incident. They are the lead agency. They are in charge of the investigation. So any further comments or information regarding the incident will come from the NTSB. So if any questions come to Metro, whether staff, board, myself, we're going to simply direct everyone to the NTSB. They are in charge of the investigation. We've been supporting them. I want to thank Chair Hamady and the NTSB team. They've been great to work with. They got to site early in the morning. Also reiterate our thanks to the WMSC and the FTA, who are also on site. Very professional, and Jamie Johnson and his team as our Chief Safety Officer are our lead coordinators with them. But again, they are in charge of the investigation. I want to also thank DC Fire for their response, and Transit Police, and all of our Metro staff. Many people were up for about a 24-hour period responding, and then still delivering the best service we could deliver yesterday. Wednesday is obviously our busiest day of the week, and it's the week after spring break, so we were very busy yesterday. And we just really want to reiterate our apologies to all of the customers that were impacted yesterday. We tried to manage the system as best we could, but obviously significant crowding, especially along the Clarendon corridor. Lastly, but the most important, wishing a full and speedy recovery for everyone that was involved in the incident yesterday. I personally have talked to our employees, wishing them well, but definitely want to make sure they all are fully recovered from the incident yesterday. So again, want to reiterate, NTSB is the lead, and so any comments or questions, please direct them to the NTSB. And thank everyone again for your patience while we managed through the incident yesterday. Special thanks to Jamie, Andy, Leroy, Teresa, Christy, and others that were really helping the senior management team with the response yesterday. Thank you, Board Member McAndrew.
Thank you. And thank you to our writers for going through that challenging day. I was stuck in it as well, but we will continue to improve and do better. But Jamie, I'll hand it over to you for the safety contact.
Absolutely. Good morning, Chair. And building on the General Manager's comments, safety is a core value at Metro, but when moving hundreds of thousands of people every day, incidents do occur. When emergencies happen, it is important to call for help immediately, and today I remind everyone of the options of how to do that. There is always the option to speak to a Metro employee in uniform who is trained to assist you, whether that be a station manager, bus operator, Metro access operator, or another member of our team. And you can always dial 911, call Metro Transit Police on 202-962-2121, or text my MTPD at 696-873. When using Metro Rail specifically, there are emergency intercom points on each rail car to speak directly to the train operator in an emergency who is in direct radio communication with Metro's integrated command and communication center. When using Metrobus, alert the driver who, in the case of an incident on a bus, can activate a silent alarm that alerts the command and communication center without customers or any suspects knowing. In summary, don't hesitate to call for help immediately in an emergency, and Metro personnel are always on hand to respond. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to this morning's Finance and Capital Committee meeting. Since this is our first meeting of the day, I'll ask the Chief Board Affairs Officer to call the roll.
Chair McAndrew.
Here.
Vice Chair Lowe.
Present.
Director Flowers.
Here.
Director Weber.
Here.
Director Santos.
Present.
Director Alcorn.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have quorum.
Excellent. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. I'd like to move to approve the agenda as presented. Are there any objections by members of the committee to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented. Now to the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes of our April 9th meeting before us for approval. Are there any objections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, we'll consider the minutes approved as presented. Today, we have two items on our agenda. First, staff is asking for the committee's concurrence on one item under the board's procurement policy. Next, the committee will be voting on Metro's FY 2027 budget and the FY 2027 through FY 2032 capital improvement plan, as well as endorsing a system-wide rail modernization vision and modernization project. This endorsement will authorize Metro to enter into the Federal Transit Administration's Capital Investment Grant Program. Before we get going on that one, I'd like to thank the GM and his staff, as well as my colleagues on the board, for their flexibility and willingness to make adjustments to the initial budget proposal to manage our subsidy growth rate while still providing efficient and targeted customer improvements. I'll turn the floor over to our CFO, Mr. Rickard, and our Chief Procurement Officer, Mr. Tash, to start us off on this morning's exciting agenda.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Nathan Tash. Metro is not quite as new Senior Vice President for Procurement and Chief Procurement Officer.
Can you move your mic a little closer?
I can. It is my pleasure to bring before you today a procurement activity concurrence package in accordance with Board Resolution M 2025-01. Procurement is a strategic enabler, and its activities support all aspects of Metro's strategic goals. This procurement relates to the service excellence goal of Metro's strategic transformation plan, which delivers safe, reliable, convenient, accessible, and world-class service that customers can trust and across all modes. The thresholds established on November 20th, 2025 require three main categories of procurement to come before the committee for concurrence. These include new procurements of $15 million or more, sole source contracts valued at $500,000 or greater, and change orders or modifications to existing contracts where the cumulative total of the current and all prior modifications exceed $1 million or 10% of the original contract amount, whichever is greater. We have one action before the committee, a sole source award for a contract valued at greater than $500,000. Here are the details on today's package for the committee's consideration. A sole source award is proposed. This contract will provide collector shoe parts for WMATA's 3K, 6K, and 7K series rail cars for use in the scheduled maintenance programs and for ongoing daily maintenance needs as they arise. These parts within these kits are designed and engineered to exact equipment specifications to ensure proper form, fit, and function, meet the mean distance between failure expectations in the system, and ensure predictable repair replacement programs. To ensure public safety, WMATA cannot use unapproved parts or vendors. Without a currently approved alternative source or part, WMATA would run out of parts for the 3K, 6K, and 7K series trains and be forced to pull the cars from service as their brakes reached end of life until a replacement was found. Mr. Chair, this is the one procurement for the committee this morning, and staff recommends Finance and Capital Committee concurrence pursuant to Board Resolution 2025-01 for the contract contained in this package.
Breezy and efficient. Thank you very much. Are there any questions from committee members? Perfect. Any questions from board members? Hearing none, I want to just thank you for bringing this before us, and thank you for your continued progress and growth in this new frontier that we are going on together. Can I get a second from a committee member?
Second.
Seconded by Director Flowers. Unless there's an additional discussion, I'll ask Ms. Ellison to call the vote.
Chair McAndrew?
Aye.
Vice Chair Lowe?
Aye.
Director Flowers?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Now we can move on to the budget. I will hand it over to Mr. Rickard and Mr. Webster.
Good morning, Chair McAndrew and members of the committee. My name is Dave Rickard, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer at WMATA, and I'm joined by Tom Webster, Executive Vice President, Chief Strategy, Planning, and Performance Officer. We're here today to present the FY27 budget and FY27 to 2032 Capital Improvement Program, the FY27 Budget Public Hearing Staff Report, and the Rail Modernization Program Vision and Red Line Modernization Project. Our budget funds and supports all three components of our strategic transformation plan: service excellence, talented teams, and financial and organizational efficiency. We'll start with the budget summary and capital program. The FY27 budget funds both Metro's operating needs and its capital investments. The recommended operating budget of $2.7 billion delivers Metro Rail, Metro Bus, and Metro Access services and funds maintenance and core support services. The recommended capital budget of $2.1 billion includes investments in system renewal and modernization while restoring, sustaining, and improving all of Metro's services. The operating budget delivers efficient, targeted improvements. The $912 million allocated for Metrobus provides more efficient bus operations through schedule optimization, targeted frequency improvements to drive ridership and improve customer experience, and additional capacity to improve on-time performance. The $1.64 billion allocated for Metro Rail provides more efficient rail operations through train length optimization and automatic train operations, more frequent all-day and late-night service, and increased peak capacity to alleviate crowding on the red, orange, and silver lines. $197 million is allocated for Metro Access and Abilities Red trips under a more fiscally sustainable model that maintains a high level of service for customers. The recommended operating budget grows our revenue while reducing regional subsidy growth. Expenses are $11 million higher than in our initial proposal for the FY27 budget, reflecting trends from the FY26 forecast and updated service proposal. Revenues have also increased from our initial budget proposal by $14 million, reflecting improved fare payment compliance, expanded Tap Ride Go and multi-day parking, and the Abilities Ride administrative fee. Also reflected in the recommended budget is prior year savings of $12 million from reconciliation of prior past sales revenue. Combined with a preventative maintenance increase of $7 million, the recommended budget reduces overall subsidy growth from 3% in the proposed budget to 1.8% in the recommended budget. Now we'll proceed to the public engagement report. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Chair McAndrew and members of the committee and the board. Again, I'm Tom Webster. So in addition to the public engagement report that our colleague Sarah Meyer gave at a previous committee meeting, Metro conducted some additional public engagement on the potential additional Metrobus service changes in the District of Columbia, reporting this morning that based on over 750 survey responses and 397 comments, the results and the report show overwhelmingly positive response for the additional proposed service. The written comments also indicated support for the service changes and also some consistent themes with the previous public engagement round around service reliability, service frequency, and connectivity to destinations. We've included some verbatim comments here, again, consistent themes throughout the public engagement around service reliability and frequency, capacity and crowding, fares and fare evasion and fare compliance, and then service impacts due to disruptions in operator availability. The board's package today includes, the committee and the board's package includes the comprehensive public engagement report, as well as staff's Title VI analysis report, which reviews major service changes. So the results of that analysis are also included in the board's resolution. Moving to the capital program, the proposed 6-year capital program totals 11.3 or 11.4 billion, including debt service, just under 9.5 billion just under 11.3 billion in the 6 years for capital investments, 1.8 billion in FY27. This revised proposal and recommendation before the board today is largely the same as the proposal back from December. The capital program as a whole largely continues already underway major projects, including bus garage replacements, bus fleet acquisition, rail cars, and reinvestments through our life cycle reinvestment programs in the safety and reliability of the metro system. One major new project included in the proposed and recommended budget today is our Red Line rail modernization project. So we'll spend a few minutes recapping some of the discussion around that. For much of the past 2 years, the board and the region through the DMV Moves Task Force have been discussing rail modernization. Previously, we presented the Rail Modernization Program Plan in the November and December timeframes last year. Also the DMV Moves Task Force endorsed the Rail Modernization Plan as part of the broader resolution adoption in the fall. In March, we provided an update to the board, including more information about the first phase of the program, the Red Line Modernization Project. And just to recap, Metro's vision for rail modernization stems from the challenges that come with maintaining our aging Metro rail system. These challenges and opportunities include safety, reliability, capacity, and efficiency. The rail modernization program directly addresses these challenges. Metro has a unique opportunity to align our needed investments in our major systems by upgrading capabilities with next generation technology. Together, rail modernization means investments in really 4 areas: a new modern signaling system, new rail cars, and upgrading our existing fleet, upgrading our stations with platform doors, and transforming our operations to take advantage of this new technology. Program will begin with the red line, then the orange, silver, and blue trunk line, and then lastly the yellow, green, and blue trunk line. The red line's smaller footprint, physical footprint, and operational independence make it the preferable starting phase. It provides a controlled environment for Metro to design, install, and test new systems while building the experience to guide construction of the remaining lines where service is interlined. Regional funding for the Red Line modernization is included in the current recommended CIP, and of course, future funding for future phases will be needed for Metro to continue the modernization on the remaining lines and corridors. The Red Line Modernization Project will modernize the entire Red Line to be capable of fully automated operations and will include CBTC across all stations and 3 rail yards, so Shady Grove, Glenmont, and Brentwood, and as well as the Greenbelt test track for testing purposes. Railcar conversions to CBTC using a mix of our existing 7000 series and new 8000 series railcars. Platform doors at 20 stations, and then supporting systems installation that would introduce new capabilities. The Red Line Modernization Project is anticipated to be eligible for federal funds through the Federal Transit Administration's Capital Investment Grants Program as a core capacity project. The CIG program is FTA's largest discretionary grant program. The funding is obviously competitive, and demands for funds consistently are more than the program can support. It requires a multi-year, multi-step process, and comparable large projects have received a federal grant for around 40 to 60% of the eligible project costs. So to advance the rail modernization program, today we are recommending a few things: that the board adopt the FY27 to 32 6-year CIP, which commits the regional and local funding for the Red Line Modernization Project, and also that the board adopt a resolution endorsing the Rail Modernization Program Vision and Red Line Modernization Project. Included within that resolution is authorization for Metro to engage with FTA and initiate. We're really at the beginning of the project development for the Red Line Modernization Project, but authorize us to proceed with FTA in a more formal way. We've already had several informational conversations with FTA, but assuming the board's action today, we would begin the formal process of requesting entry into FTA's Capital Investments Grant Program. Turn it back to Dave.
Thank you, Tom. Just as a preview, obviously, we'll continue conversations in the coming months with the committee on various budget topics. These will include all STP priority programs and rail modernization in particular, our key capital investments, fair policy, modernization and compliance, progress on DMV moves and capital funding, workforce planning and overtime management, any other capital program updates, including a potential fall capital program amendment, and then back in the cycle again with the FY28 budget and 6-year capital improvement program for next year. So in conclusion, we are recommending approval of the budget resolution, which includes the FY27 operating capital budgets, the 6-year capital plan, the Title VI analysis, the public engagement report, and the debt management policy guidelines. In addition, we recommend approval, as you heard from Tom, the rail modernization program vision and red line modernization project resolution. And with that, we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. I will go ahead and open it up to the committee for any questions or discussion. Dr. Lowe?
Yeah, just one question about the federal funding piece of this. Pursuing federal funding for a modernization program, this is something that that other transit systems have done before?
Not exactly this scope and nature of project. There have been some projects funded through this program that have similar characteristics, but this is this would be a first of this exact type of project.
And this particular funding bucket that we're going after, can you remind me what CIG stands for?
Capital Investment Grant Program.
Okay, Capital Investment Grant Program. And so, I mean, obviously Metro has a lot of capital needs. Is this a program that we could use to do, you know, some of our state of good repair backlog?
No.
No, as in like it's not, the FTA won't let us.
So the specific program we would be applying for is the Core Capacity Program, which is designed to add core capacity to the core of systems.
Okay, it's right there in the name.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, yeah, I think my perspective on this is that the opportunity to pursue a significant federal investment in Metro's infrastructure is a really important one that we need to go after. So that's kind of where I'm at on that.
Thank you. Director Flowers?
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Chairman, I want to just say is that, listen, I agree with Dr. Lowe, right? Is that, you know, in our strategic plan, right, we talk about adding service excellence, right, as one of our core themes, right? And, you know, Metro's going to lead the way, I think, in adding innovation in this industry, right, which is important, right? And I think that this is an opportunity to work with our federal partners around this theme of innovation. Which I think is important, right? Using existing programs, existing authorities, right? But applying them in an innovative way. I think this is unique. Also, the elements, right, of what we're going to be able to deliver for our customers, if this were to come to fruition, I think cannot be understated. The ability to not only first and foremost, right, we added in the CBCT elements, but also the improvements to stations and platforms. There will be, you know, material safety improvements for our customers, our employees, which then allows us to add better service, which I think is ultimately, you know, first principles, the mission that we're trying to deliver. And I think this is important. So, yeah, I'm excited about the opportunity. More work to do, but, you know, thank you to, you know, Tom and Dave, your teams, right, on thinking about ways to add innovation into how we work with our federal partners. This is important.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and head down to my left here. Director Alcorn?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have a question about the red line modernization project, and I realize this is all dependent on getting federal funds, the CIG funds, and probably a lot of other things. Optimistically, under an optimistic scenario, what's the timeline that we're talking about for the red line?
Thank you for the question, Board Member Alcorn. For full implementation, we're looking in the 2033, 2032 timeframe. But as I stated, we're really at the start of this effort. We haven't started project development yet. So that is a rough order schedule. We would be developing a more detailed scope and schedule and project implementation plan as part of that federal process and as part of our own process as we move forward. So it is it's a very major investment and will take some time to both plan, design, and deliver.
Okay, and I think Chair McAndrew may later be talking about different milestones in that process, so I'll hold off any questions relating to that. Thank you.
Director Weber?
Mr. Webster, picking up on that same topic on that there's a lot of work ahead, what gives you confidence that this project would meet the criteria for whatever is required by core capacity? Or and maybe another way of saying, can you tell us a little bit more about what we think the FTA will be looking for as we move forward?
Certainly. Part of the, thank you, board member, for the question. The part of the work of the last 18, 24 months has been exploring the concepts and the ways that we might go about designing and implementing the program. And we have been in consultation, as I mentioned, sort of informally with FTA on expectations of the program and, of course, the specific requirements of the program as they stand today. Key to this is that the investment increase the capacity of the system to meet growing ridership over a period of time. We've done the preliminary work around that. Certainly haven't done the formal and detailed work with FTA yet, as we haven't engaged in that part of the process. But we anticipate that the project will be eligible for those key criteria that are FTA requirements.
Thank you. Chair?
Related question, which is, we've asked you this before, but I just think it's important to get on the record, which is, and what might happen, given it's a competitive program, we obviously don't have, there's no guarantees that we will get the money. Could you just describe what would happen if, what are the implications if Metro were not to secure this grant?
Thank you, Chair, for the question. As I mentioned, we're really at the start from a project development standpoint. So we have a rough order magnitude around the scope of the project, around the schedule for the project, and the cost for the project. And that's obviously a well-informed rough order magnitude, but what we have not done yet, that detailed design. This assumes a local share, which we have programmed the first 6 years of in the CIP. There will be some that extends beyond that current 6-year period, and then assumed federal participation to cover the full cost of essentially the draft scope of the project we have. If the federal funding doesn't materialize, very simply, we will be revisiting at some point in the future the scope and or the schedule or both on how we make the investments that we need to make.
Thank you. I've got a couple questions on this one, but I'm going to start with the actual budget resolution. So I want to highlight one item, and this is something I've been chatting with the board and with you all for some time. I think there's a provision in there about fare ticketing integration across the region. And last board meeting, we had a procurement decision around a new tariff vending machine procurement. But I think this is really a key opportunity, and I'm going to be somewhat parochial here and say for the state of Maryland. I've got 2 counties that would love to re-enter the fair payment system, I hope. And when they do, I'm hopeful that you all are going to be able to help us out and take the purchasing power that WMATA has available to it to soften the cost, but also make sure that it's more successful. The second piece of that budget element is asking that this region collectively work together to address fare evasion, right? We've done a really, really, really good job on the rail side. And I think on the bus side, it's just a challenge. And that has financial implications on our ability to kind of continue to maintain the subsidy within the growth rate that's affordable in today's economy. to pre-pandemic 20% range. Post-pandemic, 2 of our jurisdictions are above 70%. And that just is a fiscal impact that is placed upon the system. So, my request through this is that we're working together as a region, our local partners, WMATA and others, stepping forward to try to collaborate, message, and ultimately work back towards kind of where we were before, understanding it's not going to be done tomorrow, and understanding that WMATA's done a lot of work within the lanes that they can control. But fair payment offers us the ability to have more service, more effective service, and hopefully continued improvement on safe service. So to the red line, just for a few more questions than a comment. Has the current federal administration provided any funding through the program that we're applying for yet, for any grant in the country? Has there been has this administration provided a capital investment grant, a core capacity grant, or a small starts grant, FFGA, since January 2025?
I'll take that question, board member. As you know, we just had in town the ACTA Legislative Committee, and we actually had a pretty detailed discussion about this. So there are several projects that are waiting to move from project development into project engineering, specific one in Los Angeles, one in Boston. And there's one just on the verge of that in Utah as well. And so there is some discussion of whether they are ready to move versus whether there's some people believing they may be held. And I think that's to the genesis of your question. So we have yet to see anything, I think, in the industry where there's something, quote unquote, being held. But I think there's multiple things in the pipeline that people are expecting to move. And that this also will connect probably in the larger conversation of reauthorization. And in some of the proposals around reauthorization that both Republican and Democratic leadership on T&I are working through a markup actually at the end of this month, apparently. There's debate around policy language around how to execute on those grants at DOT. And secondly, very unique, that hasn't happened in a long, long time, in the bill that passed probably, sorry, it might have been 6 months ago, there were multiple earmarks in that bill for CIG projects that have not been done in a long, long time. So Congress is actually kind of directing the money versus all of it out of US DOT. So I think more to play on all of that. We've had really good discussions with the current administration. Staff was actually with them again yesterday at the staff level. So as Tom mentioned, we believe we fit into core capacity. Core capacity also competes with CIG for New Start money, which there's a fair amount of New Starts around the country, both BRT and rail. So we believe that we qualify for that. And as Tom mentioned, this is really to start the process to work through whether we can get to the full qualifications. And then of course, we'll come back to the board many, many times, but for approval for a full funding grant agreement and try to then execute to a contract with the FTA to deliver the actual project, which would be many years from now.
Got it. So after, just remind me here, after our 8K acquisition, what would be the largest state of good repair backlog that we have in the program?
There are two. Our signaling system is the largest and highest priority need. The second is really our facilities and reinvestment in all kinds of maintenance and other facilities.
And while not the only thing being invested in as part of the modernization vision for the red line, we would be getting new signals as part of that investment, correct?
Yeah, the investment includes a whole new signal system, CBTC system. Yes.
Okay. So to my board colleagues and partners in the room, I think at a certain point in time, we need to make core investments in critical capacity needs. I think the work that the team has done to look at and size up the rail modernization program is one that deserves merit. There's risk, there's opportunity, and I think that the action that we're taking today is giving the team the ability to advance from zero at a stage gate process in the resolution We've got two key things that I think that the board wanted to see, and one is, quarterly reports at a detailed level, all the way down to budget and staffing, engagement with our partners and stakeholders across the region, as well as those representatives for our workforce, to make sure that they're part and parcel to designing whatever comes out, and giving us confidence that it's going to work and be safe and efficient and effective. So we're going to be getting quarterly reports at the same time as the GM indicated. Each step of the capital investment grant program, moving from one to the next, we're going to ask for board concurrence. So it sounds like the next one that's up is the locally preferred alternative, right? So the step we're taking today is ultimately allowing us to move forward with a letter to FTA to say we request to enter into the design and engineering. So it is a step that we're taking, but there will be ample discussion here, but we're also going to expect ample discussion from you all in terms of engaging our stakeholders and making sure that everybody is aware and moving and rowing in the same direction as we go forward. But that's where I'm at. But I think in general, a solid budget effort. And again, I'll say to my colleagues and hand it over to the GM, thank you for your willingness to be nimble and address kind of support headwinds that the state of Maryland has in terms of our economic conditions. So I appreciate that. And I'll hand it over to the GM.
Yeah, thank you, Chair McAndrew. Couple comments as we move it looks like the final step, at least, of the committee action on budget. One, there was talk a little bit about grants. I want to just definitely reassure everyone, there is no grant funding that we are not going to be aggressively going after. This is one type of bucket of grant funding. We are very aggressively going after bus and bus facility grant funding, which we've been very successful the last couple of years, acquiring about $150 million of bus grant funding over the last couple of year cycle. We also have formula funding, which our apportionment table actually went up this year, driven by how much extra service we are running, and we are working very close with our federal partners, and we'll be pushing hard, advocating on reauthorization to get the highest level of formula. Formula funding is the core of how we do maintenance, specifically on rail and bus systems in the United States. So that is what we're going to continue to work on. Any other discretionary programs too, we are going to work on, including if there are things like TOD opportunity, housing opportunity at transit, workforce training opportunities, transit security grant programs, working with the administration to try to get more security funding that could free up more money for operations and maintenance. There is nothing that we won't do at the organization to try to get every dollar out of, especially our federal partners, to support Metro, and we appreciate their conversations with us. They've been really positive so far. Number two, I want to really take a moment and thank Tom, Dave, their entire staff. Budget process for us starts in September. It's ending in April, almost ending in April, and it kind of never ends throughout the whole year. It is a big, big lift for the staff, and I just really appreciate how hard they've all worked. Tom especially carried an extra load doing kind of 2 jobs for a period of time, and Matt and Bob and a lot of people on the team. Sorry, I'm missing a few, and I just want to really recognize that. That's the JCC staff as well that has been involved throughout the whole process. Tons of questions, tons of engagement. Really thank the board members for all your engagement. It's been going really well, and I think very collaborative, watching you all work together, and hopefully you see that we're bringing good information for you to make final decisions. A couple things that I want to make. One thing I'm really proud of with this budget, and then address, I think, Board Member McAndrew's conversation with stakeholder engagement on the red line specifically. One, the thing that I'm probably the most proud of in this budget is we are enhancing service, we are investing in maintenance, investing in technology, hiring more staff because of that extra service. We are doing all of that for less than a 1.8% subsidy growth for our jurisdictions, which is almost half of what inflation is in the country right now. And I will tell you that is probably not sustainable long-term, and we had that discussion at the last board meeting, but I'm incredibly proud. That means we are under every rock trying to find every single dollar. And as I committed to the organization, every dollar we can find, we ultimately want to run better service, but specifically better bus service. We know we need to continue to drive bus service, and to have more bus service, we need to constantly keep our hiring strong of bus operators and training, so we have a good workforce that is available to deliver the service the community definitely needs. Board Member Andrews' point specifically around kind of engaging stakeholders. I see Ray, President Jackson, a lot of our union colleagues in the room today. I want to make this clear, and ever since I've had this opportunity to have this role, employees are a core of what we do at Metro. And I am very proud to work with all of our employees. We have a great employee team here that we really like working with. I want to kind of just really ground here that we are at the start of a process. The red line modernization is not about getting rid of employees. This is primarily a capacity technology program. So we started with building a whole second tunnel with $20 billion across the city. This is a technology solution used around the world to get way more capacity, and it's effectively going to be a massive reliability and safety program. Good example, we've had 10 people hit already by trains this year in 2026, 7 of which have been fatalities, 6 of which have been on the red line. We have an engineering and technology solution to prevent people from getting hit and killed by trains, and the trauma that puts on our frontline staff that has to respond to that, which is very serious. And that's one of the values of this program. We are also going to be able to run a much more efficient system overall, how we use our trains, how we use our power systems, and deliver even more frequency to drive higher ridership and connect even more of our region to greater service. As part of the Red Line Modernization Program, if the board moves forward today, we're bringing an executive lead on, we're building a team, we're going to have a program management plan, which is the language that FTA would use, a PMP. As part of that PMP, we're going to have a workforce development program, a plan as part of that. And that workforce development plan, we are going to work specifically with 689 and other partners on. And we're definitely committed to the language that Maryland Chair Corman moved through Maryland's House and got passed. Obviously, it didn't get passed in the full legislative process. And I think it's worth reading. He put in his language that the Maryland administration would withhold funding, ensuring that rail or bus operators employed by Metro on or after July 1st, 2028, will not be terminated due to reduction in force caused by automation of the rail system. So clearly, we're going to meet that. We don't have a program that could even be online on the red line for probably 6 more years. We also need to look at the models. Around the world, people do this totally differently. Sometimes there's train attendants, sometimes there's operators, sometimes they are security staff. Everyone does a little different in the world. We need to work through our concept of operations here at Metro and what is the right ability for us to staff our system. And that might mean some new skill sets. As some types of technology moves, we don't have platform screen doors. That's going to be different types of skills and people needed to do that than what we have today. So I just want to directly to the workforce that I'm very proud to work with every day. You have my personal commitment. I know Andy, Teresa, Jamie, Tom, Leroy, we all feel the same way. We plan to work with everybody and work this program as part of this multi-year development. And this is not an action today to just quickly cut hundreds of train operators. You do great work every day. We're proud of the work you do. We appreciate the work you do. This is to transform Metro from a capacity, safety, reliability program and bring us all to a much higher level of service overall. So I thought I wanted to address that directly head on. Outside of that, Mr. Chair, I hand it back and just defer if we can support any more for the board for its decision. Thank you.
One item, then I'm going to hand it over to Director Alcorn. We fully support the good Chair Corman's provision in that bill. I also want to acknowledge that there is a cross-file, and Senator Malcolm Augustine also is wholly endorsing that provision as well. So, yep. Director Alcorn.
Yeah, thank you. And for the General Manager, thank you for those comments, particularly relating to workforce and the Red Line Modernization Project. I guess I would ask, and maybe this is already going to be done, so it's not a big lift, but as these items come to the board, as implementation, as the different milestones that were mentioned by Chair McAndrew, could we also have an analysis from staff on workforce impacts and workforce plans associated with that? I think that would be helpful for us to monitor as we go forward. And related issues like overtime as we go forward. I think that would be very helpful.
Yes, 100%, Director. That'll be part of the plan. I ask everyone to also have a little patience on the project. Like our first quarterly report is going to be more or less similar to today, except we might have hired a couple people, and there's a couple conversations with FTA. Whereas 6 quarters from now, we're going to have, weird for a vegetarian to say this, more meat on the bone. And then, 2 more quarters, a little bit more. So this is also exploring with our international partners who've done this. We have an APTA peer review starting at the end of this month. What is the best way to do X versus Y? But this will be a comprehensive program management plan with all the types of layers, everything from funding to workforce, to technology, to maintenance, to capacity, capital utilization, fleet management, a lot of components through all this
Great,
thing.
thank you.
All right, if there is no further discussion, we can move to the vote. As a reminder, for items related to Metro's annual budget, all principals have a vote here at the Finance and Capital Committee. We are very inclusive at this committee, and not just our committee members. We're first going to vote on the budget, and then I'll call for a separate vote on the rail modernization vision and project endorsement. I'd like to move to adopt the budget as presented, including acceptance of the public hearing staff report, Title VI analysis, and the debt management policy. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second. Oh, I mean, that's fine.
Seconded by
I'm on the
Director
committee.
Alcorn.
I think I should be
All
second.
right, you get it, Doctor.
There you go.
Now that the main motion is on the floor, we have a motion and a second. I understand that Director Santos has an amendment that she'd like to present.
You're jumping me in queue. It's all right. Okay. As I discussed with my colleagues this morning, the District of Columbia has a amendment. It would like a minor amendment we would like to move. Just a little bit of context before I read it. The district is asking to set the district's contribution amount at the amount required by the application of the formula. As my colleagues may be aware, the district is in the middle of its budget discussions, and drafts are in discussion between the mayor and council, which is the reason for this late-breaking request to make an amendment. The mayor would like to use some of the funds that had been inadvertently included in the district's portion of the budget for other must-fund services. And to be clear, the district supports the vision for the visionary bus network and everything else. So this is not at all a commentary about the district's support for what has been proposed. It's more that the addition of the extra bus services beyond what had been included in the original general manager's budget is going to create spending pressures that are just very difficult to meet. And to be clear, given the district's budget process, the council retains the full authority to reject the mayor's proposed budget, and the council could direct funds to this additional bus service. Basically, we're asking to allow the full legislative process in the district to play out in June, because council is scheduled to have its vote in June and its debates about how to allocate resources across the city's budget. So with that long context, I would move to amend the resolution titled Adoption of Fiscal Year 2027 Operating and Capital Budgets, Service Changes in Fiscal Year 2027-2032. This is a really long headline. Capital Improvement Program, approval of Title VI analysis and public engagement report, and approval of debt management policy guidelines. Resolution as follows. We're proposing to add 2 new whereas clauses. Whereas the District of Columbia has requested the board not adopt the recently added Metrobus changes in the District of Columbia, which would have been scheduled to start in December 2026, as shown in attachment E. And whereas the board desires to reevaluate these unadopted Metrobus service changes, should additional funding be made available. Add 2 resolved clauses as follows. Resolved that attachment E is amended to delete the Metro bus service changes in the District of Columbia, which would have been scheduled to start in December 2026, subject to the Board of Directors accepting a new Title VI analysis of the remaining Metro bus service changes shown in attachment E. And be it further resolved that staff is directed to make conforming changes to the FY 2027 operating budget and operating subsidy allocation necessary to implement the deletion of Metro bus service changes in the District of Columbia scheduled to start in December 2026. And be it further, where's the rest of this? I think that's the end of it, actually. Okay. To be clear, I fully acknowledge this is a bit inconvenient insofar as it's at the last minute. I also just want to acknowledge that I know there's differences of preferences among elected leadership in the district. And I think that, again, just trying to allow the full legislative process to play out at council. So I appreciate my colleagues' patience with this proposed amendment.
Thank you, Ms. Santos. Ms. Santos has offered an amendment. Is there a second to her amendment?
I will second the amendment.
Seconded by Director Weber. Now that Mrs. Santos' amendment is on the floor, is there any discussion of the amendment? Yes, Dr. Lowe.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just want to flag that, I think what we're dealing with here really is essentially a timing issue. Because Maryland and Virginia had the executive and the legislature and actually the entire calendar of the budget is up-sequenced relative to Metro's budget timing. You guys have had all of the conversations, already and can arrive at the Metro budget process with a unified plan for how much money is available and how that translates to a service plan. Because of the district's very unusual fiscal calendar, the timing is extremely awkward in terms of where we are in the process. I have to say, I don't think "we" is the right pronoun for this amendment, and I want to foreshadow that I don't support it. I think that while legally these are this is new service, given the bus network redesign that we just did last year, I think in pragmatic and practical terms, the service adjustments that we're talking about, I view them as more like fixes to some emerging consequences of the bus network redesign. I think that we just need more time in order to have all these conversations within the Wilson Building, and that we will have that time because even if we do this amendment today, we can always amend the budget again. And so I am fully prepared to try to get those conversations started. I want to be clear, we did try to get those conversations started, and we will keep trying. And, regardless of what we do today, I think I just want to foreshadow that this topic may return to us again.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Dr. Lowe. Are there any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll ask the Chief Board Affairs Officer to call the vote on the amendment to the main motion.
Chair McAndrew?
I support the chair's amendment. What would I be? Aye.
Vice Chair Lowe?
Nay.
Director Flowers?
Aye.
Director Weber?
Aye.
Director Santos?
Aye.
Director Alcorn?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, the amendment passes.
Thank you, Ms. Ellison. We now have the main motion before us as amended. Is there any further discussion on the main motion as amended? Hearing none, unless there are, I'll go ahead and ask the Chief Board Affairs Officer to call the vote on the motion as amended.
Chair McAndrew?
Aye.
Vice Chair Lowe?
Aye.
Director Flowers?
Aye.
Director Weber?
Aye.
Director Santos?
Aye.
Director Alcorn?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. It looks like we have one last one before us today, and it's the endorsement of the rail modernization vision. This will be a vote of the committee members only, though I'll note that all board members will get to vote on this at this morning's meeting. I'd like to move approval. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Flowers. Is there any further discussion? Ms. Ellison, could you please call the vote?
Chair McAndrew?
Aye.
Vice Chair Lowe?
Aye.
Director Flowers?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. We're not done yet. We'll be back here shortly, but thank you. With no further business to come before the committee, we stand adjourned. We're going to move right into the, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll be back to you guys shortly. Thank you.
Good morning. Just bringing us back together. I'm Valerie Santos, Chair of the Metro Board. Thank you for joining us today. We have a full house. We will begin with the approval of the agenda. I would like to consider the agenda approved as presented, but with one addition, which is that we have employees being recognized for the employee spotlight today. So I'd like to formally add that to the agenda, assuming there's no objections. Okay, so hearing no objections to that, the agenda is approved. Thank you. We have two sets of minutes for approval. The March 26th board meeting and the April 9th executive session. This volume. It's a little loud. Okay, I would like to consider these minutes approved as presented. Any objections? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Thank you. First, bless you. For today's employee spotlight, we would like to recognize two outstanding bus operators, Yolande Allen and Marlene Lightford. Recently, each of these operators went above and beyond when they encountered children who were lost and facing potential danger in the street. Through quick thinking, care, and compassion, each operator safely brought the children on board, ensuring their immediate safety, and helped reunite them with their families and caregivers. Their actions reflect the very best of Metro, putting safety and putting community first. Thank you. If you want to come up to the front.
Test.
Next, we are going to go to public comment, and then after that to reports by our advisory body. So a number of people have signed up to speak today and in person. And so I'm just going to call your name, and if you could please come up to the mic.
How many do we? 7.
Gary Tim.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the board. I'm Gary Tim, and I'm from Herndon, Virginia. And I think that Metro is underutilizing a fantastic resource at Herndon, the Herndon station. There are 2 parking garages that in total have 3,500 parking spaces. The west garage connects directly to Metro via a pedestrian bridge, and the east garage connects to the west garage via a pedestrian bridge. The commuters choose the west lot or the west garage because it's closer to Metro. I counted no cars on the 4th floor of the east garage, 1 car on the 3rd floor, no cars on the 2nd floor, and probably a dozen on the 1st floor. It would, the Herndon station is 2 stops from Dulles Airport. And you would outcompete the economy lot, which charges $15. And if you arrive in the wintertime in the economy lot, you scrape the snow or the ice off your car. This would be a no-brainer. Metro would gain parking fees if you go up to, say, 30 days. It would also gain on the fare from the Metro station to the airport. In fact, people would probably even use it to go to National Airport or to Union Station because it would be so convenient. So thank you very much for the consideration. Appreciate it.
Walter, does that lot belong to the county?
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
And
I just
Mr.
want
Tim
you to
and I
know,
are
like,
talking.
you have an awesome idea, but that lot belongs to the county. So
Oh, it does.
pitch that guy on your awesome idea.
Okay. I slipped Walter
You're good, you're
a
good.
copy of my comment.
Yeah, the short answer is working on it.
Make some money, Walter. Get that bread.
Thank you for sharing. Our next speaker is Bill Orleans.
Thank you. To the extent that I retain my faith, I am probably a very conservative man. St. Patrick is not the patron saint of autonomous operating systems. He's the patron saint of workers, and he sees the value and dignity in the work done by workers. I would suggest that woe it is to we who would value the work of a microchip more than the work of a man or a woman. I have heard it said in this room, and I think on the radio as well, despite what I heard earlier today at the conclusion of the committee, that the general manager foresees a future in which much, if not most, if not all, of Metro operations will be done autonomously. Now, maybe I misheard him when I heard him in this room previously and maybe on the radio, or maybe I misheard him earlier today at the conclusion of the committee. But I think it would be worthy of the board to discuss its future and how the board sees, with participation of the riders, not customers, but riders, as to whether we want a system that values the output of a microchip more so than the output of a man or woman. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person, if I read this correctly, is Operator Terry.
Good morning. My name is Christopher Terry. I'm out of Brentwood Railroad Yard. Quick background, I'm a former bus operator. I worked at every rail division, every current bus depot except for Cinderbed. As a 689 employee and a rider of the Metro, I want to see progress and efficiency. This Central Improvement Program 2027 to 2032 has a focus on automation to remove operators from the train. They see us as a bottleneck for future success. This is not the case at all. ATO implementation has only worked due to operator involvement. ATO glitches continually, and we are there to fill the gaps. Operators are the first line of defense to troubleshoot issues on the railroad. When ATO doesn't work, they blame us. So how is ATO better? We are there to troubleshoot door problems, brake problems, ATP issues. We navigate inclement weather. We pre-trip rail cars for revenue service to ensure safety. We work with car maintenance, and instead of removing operators, why not use funding to fix our standing issues? We haven't even come close to solving communication issues. Yet you want to embark on something new and unknown, which can potentially not work. Instead, I propose that we need funding to focus on and replace data interlockings throughout the entire system. Just to cite a few, Alpha 02, Farragut North, Delta 98 at the DNG, a major cause for service disruption, not operators. Just last night, the track circuit was down between Rockville and Shady Grove on track 2. Who's there to help us out?
Thank you. Jampsia Campbell, next speaker.
Good morning. This is not a debate about technology. This is a decision about safety, timing, and trust. No one here is against innovation, but innovation without readiness is not progress, it's risk. Right now, we are being asked to move toward automation in a system that is still working through real documented issues. Train overruns, signal and control inconsistencies, past collisions that still impact public confidence. And now we are being told the solution is to remove the very people trained to respond when something goes wrong. That should give every person in this room a pause. Because when technology fails, and it does, who is the last line of defense? A system like Washington Metropolitan is not a closed control system. It is a complex, high volume, real world transit network. Comparing it to fully automated systems like Tokyo Monorail is not just inaccurate, it ignores the fundamental differences in design, operation, and risk. Those systems were built for automation from day one. Safety barriers on platform doors are not the issue. Safety improvements are welcome, but the concern is what those improvements are being used to justify. A rapid push toward full automation before this system has proven it can operate safely without human operators. And we have to ask, are we moving at a pace of safety or a pace of ambition? Because when leadership is focused on being first, there's a real risk of moving faster than the system is ready to handle. The riding public is not asking for automation. They're asking one simple question: will I get home safely? And today, we cannot confidently say that removing trained operators improves that answer. So the question before this board is simple. Do we move forward because we can, or do we pause because we should? We are asking for a pause, a full safety review, transparent data, and proof, not promises, that the system is ready. Automation doesn't eliminate risk, it shifts it. The question is, on to who? You're not voting on technology today. You're voting on whether the system is ready, and it isn't. And before you take the operator off the train, you should be able to look every rider in the eye and guarantee their safety. And today, nobody in this room can do that.
Thank you. Next speaker is Jackie Jeter.
Good morning. I am Jackie Jeter, former president of ATU Local 689, but today I want to speak to you as a train operator. I was a train operator on the system, and I graduated to being an interlocking operator for the system. Some of the same issues that has been discussed, I want to talk about a little bit. This system has basically been automated since you purchased your first 1,000 car. The doors have always had the ability to open and close. The trains have always had the ability to pick up a PSS. The trains have always had the ability to operate in ATO. And the reason why we stopped doing that or have not initiated it is because the system is not ready. It never has been. I don't have confidence that where you all are going is the place to be. What I do have confidence in is the people like Mr. Terry, who is the train operators, who's there to make sure that when complications occur, there is someone there to stop it. I think back to 2008 when Janice McMillan lost her life. And she lost her life because the system did not work the way you all told us it would. So I have no confidence that we're ready to move to that. Maybe we will. Maybe we will. But I think we should work on the infrastructure that we have to make sure that those things, I mean, just a regular train operator wants their train to always pick up the PSS in the system and stop safely at the station and not have a station overrun that, like when Mr. Terry said, we're blamed for because we didn't stop it when it hit the platform. And I can tell you as a train operator, when an 8-car train hits the platform at 42 miles an hour, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to stop because of the velocity, not because the operator's not paying attention. So with that, I'd like for you all to really think about it. I know it's good to go after the shiny new money, but I think that we should fix what we have so that it operates the way it's supposed to, and the passengers and the customers have, the riders have confidence in the system that we have. And as a train operator, I can tell you, I would like to see that. I would like for us to do that before we go pick up shiny new things.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mike Golash.
I'm Mike Golash and also a former president of Local 689. I certainly support the whole idea of modernization of the system, but I think as Jackie and our other officers said, we want to make sure that it's done in a way that's safe and reliable, that our riding public as well as our operators are protected. So I think, we have to be really careful as we move forward in this development, and we should work closely with the union to make sure that it is a safe and reliable system. Second of all, I think it's really important what Len DeCarc said earlier about the retention in our operators, basically. Our operators, our train operators, our station manager, our mechanics, they're what keep this system going. And unfortunately, over the last few years, there's been a lot more conflict between the way our operators are treated and the way they're allowed to do their jobs. And I think we have to work more at that, to retain our work operators, to train them better, and to make them more efficient operating system. We're well paid, we have good benefits, we've fought for these things over the last 50 or 60 years. We want to retain them, we want to improve them over the future because they're what deliver the type of system that this region wants and needs to operate efficiently and fully. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Ray Jackson.
Oh, I got it. I used to be a mechanic. I got it. Listen, I'm Raymond Jackson. I'm the president business agent of ATU Local 689, and I'm going to tell you now, 2 minutes is not long enough. But I will say, and the reason why I'm here, and I came last month to address you all, and also sent you a letter saying that I would like to meet with you all so you can really hear from my perspective. I'll say this. You all talk about automation, but I've been to Japan and I've seen their trains. I've been to Miami and seen their little monorails and the ones that they have at the airports and everywhere else. I have not seen one that had the capability of running 75 miles per hour like our trains do. But aside from that, it's a cultural difference. I've been to Japan, and the culture in Japan is totally different than what we have here in this region. The climate in Japan is totally different than what we have here in this region. You are just talking about the operations of the train, and there's so much more I want to say about where you all are going and what you are proposing. Matter of fact, I would ask that you table it and let's have some discussion. Again, like the people before me, we do more than that, and I think you all have proven our point by bringing the two young ladies up for your employee portion. If not for these two young ladies, those kids would have been in more danger. And former President Jeter even told you, we would have had more deaths if Janice McMillan had not been on that train at Fort Totten. I think we all are taking the human element out of it. I think that we can better serve, and the train operator, again, spoke to it. Since I've been president, we've always had a communication issue in our system. Let's fix our system first, and then let's go buy our shiny new toys. I think we are a long way from where you all want to be. You can get your automation, but without the culture, you're going to have a problem. And again, I think you proved my point with the young lady.
Thank you, Ray. And we appreciate all of you all coming to share your perspectives with us. I know this isn't the first time you all have come, and we welcome the ongoing dialogue. Next is, we did not receive comments in advance, so we will next hear from Accessibility Advisory Committee Chair Pat Sheehan.
Oh, very good. All right, thank you so much for allowing me to come before the board today. I'd like to take a moment of personal privilege. I think I did this last month, and I was welcoming Anu Sharma back from the Office of Accessibility Wide Systems, and learned last week that she is going to be taking an early retirement, and her last day will be Thursday. The Accessibility Advisory Committee really wants to say thank you to Anu for all the work that she's done with us over the last 10 years. She's been with WMATA for 23 years. I was told 23 years and 8 months. And I think the work that she has done, particularly on the Accessibility Advisory Committee, is just commendable. Always behind the scenes, making sure that we get the right people in at the right times to give us the information that we need. Poised, hardworking, delivering the day-to-day work that we needed to be successful, and just never asking for the thank you or to be in the limelight, but a real professional. Randy, I know you talk about the trains and the buses and the new equipment and everything that we have coming in, but as you always said, it's about the people. And you couldn't have picked a better person to come and represent the AAC and to get the job done than Anu. That's the type of person that WMATA needs to be bringing in and letting them do their thing. So for WMATA, for this board, for the organization, particularly for AAC, Anu, we say thank you for your dedication, hard work, poise. And I can't tell you the number of times when we would talk before this meeting and I'd say, Anu, this is what I want to say to the board. I was frustrated about one thing or another. And I can still hear her say, Patrick, you may want to rephrase that statement. How about you say it this way? So we said it her way, and it's worked. So for all the work that she's done, for what she gave to this organization, although I'm sad, AAC is sad, this organization needs to be proud of the work, who she is, what she did, and how she did it. Thank you, Anu. And I have to try to figure out how to give a report. We have a lot of things going on with the Accessibility Advisory Committee. particularly in the area of the focus groups, which is a new innovation that Dr. Butler has put through over the last 3 or 4 months. We have the signage working group, which is going to be getting their new signage in Lafayette Plaza over the next couple of months. We're looking forward to conversations with them. We have some disagreements on should the sign look this way or the sign should that way. So we'll get input from the public and we'll see how we go. However, the working group, the signage working group has been doing a great job working with Sam, Sarah, Meyer, Brian, and their team. We're really making great strides. Another focus group that Maggie has put together has been an IT modernization working group. We'll get some report from them in May about what they're doing to upgrade their websites, PDF documents, applications, information, all of that, meeting the requirements of Section 508 access requirements. We have some people that want to work to try to see how those websites and other things work. So a huge project. It's great to be brought into the beginning of that before they start doing the work. Appreciate that. The third area that Dr. Butler has focused on is getting folks, particularly in wheelchairs, to take a look at when we do the update to the Lafayette Plaza with the new signage, that people with who have wheelchairs are able to get around, that they are provided sufficient access, particularly on the elevators. The signage is where it needs to be, how it needs to be, and the lighting is just so that everyone can use it. I know that we're focused a lot on people with low vision, but we also want to make sure that that population also is satisfied. Last couple of things. We've been talking with Nicola from the emergency training, the training department, talking through emergency systems and all. And we will be working with her over the next couple of months to incorporate disability issues in some of the training. Our people were very excited, from folks with hearing impairments, cognitive impairments, folks in wheelchairs, individuals with service animals, to bring some of those aspects into the training curriculum that WMATA is putting forward. So she was writing things down. I think she was very pleased to be able to working with a group that's as talented and engaged as the as folks on the AACR. But what I was thrilled with was her enthusiasm. She was just happy to have a training curriculum that was going to be more robust, could take in more people. So that's quite a partnership. Lastly, I'll say that we are starting to have adventures with AI, particularly in scheduling, and we've been working with Mr. Blank to incorporate updates to the AI scheduling system. He has been extremely responsive, and one thing I'll say is that the disability community is not shy. So between Barbara and Mr. Blake, they've been getting a lot of information how things can be improved. So we appreciate the back and forth and being able to work to improve the system. The other kudo that I'll give Office of ADA Programs is that we have been working now with Uber and Lyft, coming up with some anomalies as far as where some of the rides are taking on the Abilities Ride program. They're not exactly ending up where we would expect them to end up. We had a few issues in October. They got resolved around, I think it was December, January, February timeframe. A little longer than I would have liked, but now when we put issues in, we're getting them fixed basically in less than a week, 3-4 days. A tremendous improvement when you've got 1.6 million rides per year, and you're talking about maybe 10 or 20 people that are having issues. That's not much out of that entire whole. But it means a lot to the people who are stranded, who can't get from point A to point B. It's great to see that that staff is taking it seriously. We think we have an understanding why that's happening, and the people are working, getting back to the individuals and making sure those problems are resolved. So we've got a great team between the staff, system-wide accessibility, ADA programs, and of course, as I said, Anu was just the best, just best to work with. My report for today. Thank you so much for what you do and how you do it. Any questions for me?
Thanks, Pat. And thanks for taking a moment to recognize Anu. It's often just like our employee spotlight. It's really wonderful when we hear examples of people going above and beyond. So thank you for taking a moment to recognize her.
Great. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Writers Advisory Council Chair William Way. Welcome, William, and congratulations on being elected the new RAC chair.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. As you noted, we just had an election with a new chair and 2 new vice chairs. We also want to thank alternate director Spring Worth for coming to serve with us as board liaison. Operationally, the RAC is pleased with the all-door boarding, which has potential to speed up buses, and we look forward to updates from there. And finally, regarding our annual report, of which you have a copy, Thomas Shepard, our member who led it, is going to give you some highlights. Thomas.
All right. Yeah, I'd just like to thank the board again for this opportunity to present. Yeah, it's really cool that we're able to do this and be a voice for riders across the region. First of all, a little bit about how we went about doing this report. So between January and February of 2026, we sent out a feedback form. RAC members spread across their networks. I think we reached out to like over 30 organizations, and people also sent individual messages. We got over 340 responses from riders across DC, Maryland, Virginia, which was almost double the amount that we got last year. Got riders from all 6 metro lines, 68 metro stations, and 52 bus routes. This was also the first year that a Spanish form was distributed, and that got 7 responses. And so in the form itself, riders were asked to provide their top concerns about the system, as well as proposed solutions as to how they would fix those issues that they identified. And then finally, respondents also rated Metro on a scale of 1 to 10, and the average this year was 7.56, up from 7.5 last year, and that is with more responses. So yeah. So here are the top concerns. We sort of split it up into 5 different groups. First of all, frequency and reliability of service. Frequency accounted for about 29% of responses, while concerns about reliability were about 28%. System connectivity, basically, mostly pertaining to like things like bus routing, especially with the new Better Bus network. But also how people get to metro stations and bus stops, whether that be pedestrian access and things like that. Quality of facilities, a lot of those responses had to do with cleanliness, but there's also people commented on a lot of other topics, such as elevator and escalator reliability, wayfinding, and then also the quality and availability of things like bus shelters, and seating. Then we had safety, crime, and law enforcement presence. So about 14% of responses were about safety and crime in the system, whereas a little over 15% were about law enforcement presence, be that metro police or federal law enforcement agencies. And then finally, we had communications and access to information, so things like trip planning and headway information. So here are just some proposed solutions that we identified, taking the feedback from riders, but also, bringing in some things that we've talked about at our own meetings. I'd also like to emphasize that these are things that Metro is already doing. So, for instance, service enhancement in the proposed budget, there's already plans, which may be a little more up in the air now, but plans to increase service frequency. This was one of Ryder's top concerns. And we hope that Metro can continue to work with jurisdictions to identify corridors that where frequency increases would be appropriate. In particular, adding more bus routes to the 12-minute network so that riders don't have to be waiting super long for their buses. And where frequency increases are not possible, such as in more suburban areas, one suggestion we'd like to make is maybe considering the implementation of a pulse system where you, at suburban bus hubs or metro stations, you have, sort of more lower frequency routes all coming to a station at the same time and waiting around for a few minutes to allow passengers to transfer between routes. And, such a system could be thrown off by delays. But I think it could have the potential to enhance rider experience in areas where simply increasing service frequency isn't super possible. And then also increasing Metro Rail frequency off peak. There were a lot of positive comments about peak time frequencies, but and also off peak as well. But I think some people did wish that the Metro ran a little bit more frequently during off-peak hours, especially when Metro is doing construction, things like that. Next, infrastructure investment. We think Metro should continue working with jurisdictions to invest in bus priority infrastructure in order to improve reliability and to allow for greater service frequency increases. And then CBTC signaling, we're very happy to see that you guys just approved potential investments in that in the future. And so we're really happy to see that as such investments will continue to improve reliability as well as safety in the system. And then finally, communications related solutions. So continue to update and promote Metro Pulse, which is, a great new tool where riders can easily, plan trips and see when their bus is coming. It's a great tool, but I think there's still improvements to be made, particularly with regards to accuracy. But it's great that we have that now. And then also improve communication of delays and outages. I think Metro has done a good job of communicating delays in advance, such as like planned construction or detours. But we did receive feedback that some customers did wish that communication delays were a little bit quicker and more accurate, especially in the case of unexpected disruptions. And then finally, continue the Better Bus outreach. We received a lot of feedback on the new bus network. We believe that Metro should continue to listen to the voice of riders regarding the new bus system and routing and frequency and things like that. And then, so finally, I guess we have here some observed changes and notable quotes. We also asked riders in the survey for their top observations of like changes they notice in the system. So one, for instance, was Metro Rail extensions and service improvements. We received a lot of positive comments about that, and people are very happy, particularly with the Yellow Line extension going back to Greenbelt. So people are very happy about that. Better Bus changes, we saw like a mix of opinions. Some people were very pleased with the consolidation of routes and service enhancements, whereas others felt that they had to, for instance, like increase transfers. That was a big thing that saw more mixed reception, and some people have expressed concerns of getting less service on their own routes. And then next, Tap Ride Go, allowing for the use of debit and credit cards on Metro and bus. That has been extremely positive. We got a lot of positive feedback. on that. I think people are very happy to have more payment options in the system. And then finally, National Guard presence, and I guess federal law enforcement presence in general. We got a lot of comments about that, and it was, I think, virtually all negative. So I think that is something WMATA should continue to consider. And then, yeah, here we just have some notable quotes, again, about Tap Right Go. We have a positive quote there. And then another quote about improvements in service frequency, and also concerns about law enforcement presence. And then I guess a comment reflecting sort of the mix of opinions on the new Better Bus service, expressing how crosstown buses have gotten a little better, whereas in some areas reliability could be a little better. But I believe that is it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, William and Thomas. Does anyone have any questions for them? Don't run off yet. And thanks to Springworth for agreeing for stepping up and becoming the new board liaison to the BRAC. We appreciate you very much contributing your time to this advisory body and helping shape their work moving forward. This concludes our advisory body reports. Now on to the chair's report, which is that today we are approving the FY 2027 budget and the FY 2027 to 2032 capital improvement program. Today's vote represents months of diligent work by staff and the board. This is a balanced and responsible budget that maintains essential service while recognizing the fiscal constraints facing our jurisdictional partners. We prioritize preserving service levels that our riders depend on, continuing investments in safety and reliability, managing spending without compromising core operations. This budget reflects difficult but necessary choices to ensure that Metro remains financially sustainable. While this budget is balanced, we must be clear-eyed about the challenges ahead. Structural funding gaps remain a concern in the out years. The board is, needless to say, committed to its governance responsibilities, including cost controls, managing risks, and ensuring that money is spent carefully, efficiently, using innovation and ensuring maximum accountability, ensuring that strategy is implemented using metrics, and that improving our operational efficiency through, sorry, I'm just realizing I mixed up my lines here, improving operational efficiency through innovation and accountability, and working through regional partners on long-term funding solutions. Fiscal discipline today positions us to make strategic investments and ensure ongoing high-quality, reliable, safe service tomorrow. As we think about Metro's future, initiatives like DMV Moves represent an important opportunity for regional alignment. DMV Moves is helping to shape a long-term vision for how people move throughout the district, Maryland, and Virginia. Metro plays a central role in that vision as the backbone of a connected multimodal transportation system and undergirds our economy. We are committed to coordinating closely with our regional partners, advancing DMV Moves, ensuring Metro investments align with broader mobility and land use planning goals, and supporting strategies that improve access, reliability, and connectivity across jurisdictions. Efforts like this reinforce that Metro is not operating in isolation. We are part of a larger, integrated regional system. Metro's success depends on strong collaboration with our regional partners, and we are grateful for their continued support and shared commitment to the system. Moving forward, partnership will be key to addressing both operating and capital needs. The decisions that we make today are about more than a single fiscal year. They are about the future of the system and the region it serves. Through efforts like DMV Moves, we have an opportunity to think bigger about mobility in our region. I look forward to continued collaboration as we move ahead together. Thank you. This concludes my report, and I will turn the floor over to our GM for his report. Mr. Clark.
Great, thank you, Chair, and appreciate those great comments. It's great to see when the region can unite and deliver for everyone that lives and visits this amazing place. So thank you. A couple things I just want to highlight. First up, I want to highlight Earth Day. Yesterday, we had a celebration, and the timing, of course, probably couldn't have been better because the Artemis 2, I think everyone's aware, there's a lot of hype about space right now. And we had our Earth Day celebration yesterday. I think alternative board member Worth was able to join, and unfortunately, I was not able to be there, which is, I actually started this event in Austin when I was the CEO, and now it's kind of a thing all over the industry. So I'm really, this is like one of my favorite days of the year. But we had students from all over our region submit artwork to talk about how important Earth Day matters to them and kind of how transportation plays a key role. And so the children were selected across the DMV. Our work now is on 3 buses that will run in Virginia, Maryland, and DC, celebrating their voice in how transportation, specifically transit, is such an important thing in the sustainability of the one planet we truly have, which I think Artemis 2 really brought everyone back to realizing how important it is to protect the only home that we're all going to have together. So just congratulations to all these students. I want to thank Sarah, specifically taking the executive leadership yesterday on this event. But a lot of members of our sustainability, environmental team, Rachel, and just it was a really good event, and it brings a lot of smiles, a lot of happiness. So you got to see these vehicles out in the system, and if people are out there, tag us because they're really, really fun. The next thing I want to highlight is, and I don't have a slide for, so I don't know if you go back to GM report or however you guys want to do it there. I want to highlight in the vein of partnership, as the board chair mentioned, the board chair and then I know it's been shared with all the other board members, received a letter from Maryland Senate President Ferguson and Maryland Speaker, and highlighting DMV moves. So as everyone knows, we've been working with our 3 jurisdictions to advance DMV moves funding. So in Virginia, obviously there's a lot of other things at play, and one day there'll be a budget, and hopefully that will get all resolved amicably, and the Metro DMV moves funding will be resolved in that budget. So we're still waiting on there. DC is obviously just starting its budget process. Maryland concluded, and unfortunately, while this session we didn't get everything wrapped up, I thought it'd be really important to highlight a couple things in this letter that were sent by the Senate President and the Speaker. And specifically, they sent this letter really acknowledging the DMV moves work, kind of as the chair just mentioned, how it unites our region together. And a couple quotes from this letter that I think are really important. DMV Moves provides a unified vision for the region, and we are committed to supporting Maryland's share of the necessary regional funding. In the Maryland General Assembly, we intend to include this critical infrastructure as part of a broader transportation package to address the needs across our state. We will be developing this legislative package in consultation with stakeholders from across the state, and moving forward is a top priority for our 2027 legislative session. Further, it says we want to sustain the progress that started with the regional dedicated capital funding in 2018 and do not want Metro to have disinvestment in its capital program. So I just want to really take a moment and thank Senate President and the Speaker, specifically also thank Chair Corman on the House side and Senator Augustine for advancing their bills. What I think this really shows is we have a great partner in the Maryland Legislature, in the General Assembly, and we look forward to them, ideally wrapping up the DMV Moves funding in Maryland in 2027. I think the other thing we can take from this letter is that gives a little bit more predictability as you all think, deliberate as through the capital program, and ideally not have those big dips and cyclical things that we were worried about. So again, continue progress in our regional commitment to Metro, and just really want to thank everyone for all of their support, just like as the chair did. I think, Chair, I addressed the incident earlier today, but if there's any questions, comments, happy to take them. Otherwise, we'll move forward with the agenda. So thank you.
Thank you, Randy. I think next up is our report from our Finance and Capital Committee. Director McAndrew.
Thank you, Chair. The following items were referred to the board at this morning's Finance and Capital Committee meeting. Acceptance of public hearing staff report Title VI analysis and debt management policy and approval of FY 2027 operating and capital budgets and FY 2027 through 2032 capital improvement program as amended. Staff sought approval of Metro's FY 2027 operating and capital budgets and FY 2027 through 2032 capital improvement program, along with acceptance of the associated public hearing staff report, Title VI analysis, and the debt management policy. This year's operating budget will deliver efficient, targeted service improvements while managing the growth in jurisdictional subsidies. Madam, I move approval. Madam Chair, I move approval.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew. Who has moved approval? Can I get a second? I heard one. Thank you, Director Alcorn. Is there any discussion?
Sorry, could we just get clarification on what's happening with the Title VI analysis? That it's
Maybe Tom Webster can explain.
I don't want to butcher it, Tom. I think I got it, but I'd rather you hit it exactly. And Patty, if you need it as well.
Thank you, Director Lowe. My understanding of what we based on the based on the language in the amendment and the resolution before the board, staff will run the Title VI analysis and issue another report based on the service changes, or to include the service changes that remain in the budget that the board is considering, and then we would return to the board with that report for consideration.
okay. So I'm sorry, just to understand what's even happening here. So we're voting on the budget today, but we don't have the Title VI analysis. So after we get the Title VI analysis, do we vote on the budget again?
Patty, do you mind coming up just for a quick second?
I really apologize that I am like barely following the plot. I had a very full cup of coffee.
I think it's good to get this language very exact. I forgot Patty up here, but she doesn't get it.
Good afternoon. So what's on the table to be approved by the board is the proposed budget as amended by what was passed in the Finance and Capital Committee, the Chair Santos's amendment. And the changes, the amendments will remove the Metro bus additional service changes in DC that were scheduled to take effect December 2026. However, subject to the board accepting a new Title VI analysis. So the routes will be removed subject to. They weren't going to take effect until December 2026 anyways. And so subject to the Title VI analysis, the board will have to take a further action.
Okay.
One or the other.
So actually the entire budget approval is contingent on a subsequent approval of the Title VI analysis?
No, just the service changes, just the Metro bus service changes. Like the capital budget will be approved as soon if the board approves it. The debt policy.
Oh, that's okay.
CIP.
Okay, I understand what is happening now. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Director Alcorn.
Yeah, just one other point, and Randy, I appreciate you mentioning what's going on in Richmond and DMV moves. The budget deliberations there also very much affect the FY27 budget and the subsidy. So I look forward to the state moving forward and the Commonwealth of Virginia moving forward and doing their part as well. So just want to put that on the record. Thank you.
Any other? Okay. I'll ask Ms. Ellison to call the vote.
Chair Santos?
Aye.
Vice Chair McAndrew?
Aye.
Director Alcorn?
Aye.
Director Lowe?
Aye.
Director Weber?
Aye.
Director Flowers?
Aye.
Madam Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. Back to Director McAndrew for the next item.
Thank you. Also at this morning's Finance and Capital Committee, A following item was referred. It pertains to the endorsement of the Rail Modernization Program Vision and Red Line Modernization Project. Staff sought the committee's endorsement of the system-wide Rail Modernization Program Vision and Red Line Modernization Project, as well as authorization for Metro to enter into the Federal Transit Administration's Capital Investment Grant Program. We also held dialogue about continued progress and reporting to the board, as well as expected engagement with the workforce. And we are happy to move forward with the resolution. So, Madam Chair, I move approval.
Thank you. Mr. McAndrew has moved approval. Can I get a second? Thank you, Director Alcorn. Are there any comments, discussion? Okay, I'll ask Ms. Ellison to call the vote.
Chair Santos?
Aye.
Vice Chair McAndrew?
Aye.
Director Alcorn?
Aye.
Director Lowe?
Aye.
Director Weber?
Aye.
Director Flowers?
Aye.
Madam Chair, the motion passes.
I think that's it for Director Commander, yes? Okay.
Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Alrighty. We have 4 consent items before us today. I would like to move approval of the following. First is an amendment and restatement of the WMATA Deferred Compensation Plan and Trust. Staff is seeking our approval to amend and restate the WMATA Deferred Compensation Plan and Trust to incorporate certain changes required under the Secure 2.0 Act. The second consent item is the project construction agreement for the new west entrance to the Ballston Metro Station. Staff seeks approval for the general manager to negotiate and execute a reimbursable project agreement with Arlington County for the construction of a new west entrance to the Ballston Metro Station. Arlington County will fund, design, construct, and turn over the new station entrance to WMATA. The third consent item is approval of Amendment 2 to the project construction agreement for the new Crystal City Metro Station entrance. Staff is seeking approval to amend a previously approved reimbursable project construction agreement for the new east entrance at the Crystal City Metro Station. This amendment will have WMATA fund approximately $2.1 million in WMATA requested fire and alarm system controls and a fire control room for emergency personnel. And the last consent item is authorization to execute a reimbursable agreement for Metrobus route P90. Staff is requesting approval to authorize the general manager to execute a reimbursable agreement with NH Special Events LLC to fund a portion of operating expenses for Metrobus route P90, which serves National Harbor. This action updates an agreement originally approved in 2016 and aligns the agreement with Metro's new Better Bus network and the updated subsidy allocation formula. I move approval of these various consent items. Can I please get a second? Thank you, Director Alcorn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Next up is reports by the jurisdictions. Colleagues from Virginia? Nothing? Okay.
No, nothing additional.
Colleagues from Maryland?
Just a couple of quick items. In the interest of planning for change, our folks in Maryland wanted to let you know that together, the Maryland Transit Administration and the Purple Line are hosting a series of community meetings to give some updates on construction as that project moves towards completion. These are tonight in Bethesda Chevy Chase for people who are interested, College Park and Silver Spring next week. The Red Line shutdown upcoming is a major topic of interest in Montgomery County, which will take place from July 6th to September 6th. So together, WMATA is partnering with the Maryland Department of Transportation, the MTA Purple Line, the State Highway Administration, and Montgomery County Department of Transportation to host a series of information meetings for the public to start planning for the shutdown. That will take place in early May at the Bethesda Chevy Chase Regional Services Center. And even in Prince George's County, our friends are expanding local bus service to include more options on the weekends. And they ask that if you're interested in that, you follow the Department of Public Works and Transportation on social media, where they will share those plans. Thank you.
Thank you. For DC, I have a couple items that were wanted to announce to you. That, exactly. Which is on Tuesday, there is an RFK community meeting, and I am realizing I actually don't have the details. I just know it's on April 28th. I believe it's at 6 p.m., and I don't know where it is.
It's at St. Coletta's. Yeah, it's actually the same place that we had the, we had the citywide ANC meeting in the same location last year.
And almost at the same time, there is a bus town hall. Where is that? Here. So.
Sorry, I should have mentioned that in my report.
It's all right. We're inviting, of course, folks to comment on the bus network. And then also this Saturday, there is continuing the Earth Day celebration theme. Neighbors across DC are invited to join the city's 10th annual spring cleanup on Saturday, April 25th. There's cleanup locations in each ward. There's details online, and you can register on Eventbrite. And then also today, the mayor, the DC Department of Behavioral Health, and the MPD, so that's the district's police, are encouraging residents to participate in National Prescription Drug Take Back Day, which I guess there's events this Saturday from 10 to 2 p.m. The district is hosting drop-off sites across the city where residents can safely dispose of unneeded or expired prescription medications, helping prevent them from being misused. And again, there's more details online. Any other announcements from the jurisdictions? Great. With no further business to come before the board, we have a budget and we stand adjourned. Thank you for joining us today.